Hello and welcome to the Dits on Wrestling podcast, the Raw Navy's only pro wrestling pod, part of Project Dits. And this is a very, very sad one today because this is the final weekly episode of the GM Mode series. Sad times. But I get to be the one to take that baby home, so I guess, you know,
take that baby.
It's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. But of course I'm joined by Raw General Manager who finished up his stuff on Monday. Go and check that out. Of course, we do have SummerSlam coming up. Let's not forget that. But I feel a bit
verklempt.
A bit.
Little choked up. It's tough.
Yeah, but at least in 3 days we have the SummerSlam show.
Yes.
Which is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to doing that, and hopefully we'll have an appearance from the Dowpod Observer as well, who's done a stand-up job.
Yes.
And of course, I will direct you to him right now and say that if you're not really sure what's happened on SmackDown or even Raw for that matter over the last week or so, then go and check out the Dowpod Observer's reviews of our last shows, and it'll catch you up nicely.
We love you,
He's
Justin.
been great.
Thank you so much.
He has been fantastic.
He's been amazing.
And it's I hope to get him back on for another guest podcast soon, and maybe wink wink if we
wink,
series
nudge, nudge.
2.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Series 2.
Interesting.
I think I just fell in love with you, by the way, for using a Monty Python reference.
I fucking love Monty Python.
Oh my god, we need to talk about that at some point.
Oh yeah, I'm down for that.
It was Metal Gear Solid last week, and this week is Monty Python.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's. I think wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more.
And not as good as a wink to a blind bat.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what that might be my favorite overall Monty Python. No, the pigeon spot in Holy Grail is probably my favorite. Oh no, the swallows. Well, two African swallows, and then just that whole we're on the search for the Holy Grail. Don't you want it like the Holy Grail? Tell them we've already got one. We've already got one. But Life of Brian is great. I don't know. That's a talk for another time. Sorry, I got super excited just now. Sorry.
A special episode coming to Project Dits. It's Dits and Pieces with Anthony talking Monty Python. Oh my god, I am so down for that. We need to make that happen.
1,000% down for that.
We need to make that happen.
Yes. Well, you know what's good about that is because, we control the content here. We can do that anytime we want. I'm down for that. Oh, that's sweet. And
funnily enough, we have a 2-week break coming up for the Dow Pod, so we could fit in something else, Yeah, possibilities. Oh my. Anywho, we could tangent forever, as I think we did for a little bit about Metal Gear Solid last week. Halfway through my SmackDown episode, might I add. I wasn't even finished doing the booking.
And then the week before, it was me quizzing you on what NHL teams that you knew. Red Wings?
Red Wings, yeah.
I'm actually proud that we haven't tangented as much during this series as we are.
We're terrible for it.
Oh, yeah, we're not great with it. Yeah, we do it a lot.
As the first 3 minutes... 3.5 minutes has ever tested to.
Shut up! Stop! Okay.
But anyway, let's. I want to get into this because there's some exciting stuff happening on SmackDown this week.
Yes, there is. As a fan, as the person who just gets to sit here and listen and enjoy it firsthand.
Yes.
There are some things. Yes. There are several things that I've been fucking waiting for since the draft, and I need it. Give it to me.
So without further ado, let's get into it. We get the intro. Of course. We get it every week. It'd be weird if there wasn't one. Way And we kick SmackDown off with a promo. You guys are going to miss that. The GM, you're maybe not going to miss that. The GM is out in the ring to start the show, and he's in a jovial mood. He says how the biggest party of the summer is just 3 days away. But let's have a party of our own tonight on SmackDown. Tonight, there will be 2 title matches. Apollo Crews versus Roderick Strong for the United States Championship. And the New Day versus Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly of the Undisputed Era for the tag team titles. Ooh. And a big main event. Ooh. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton.
Oh, go home show.
Sure. But his mood turns serious. He says that many people are probably wondering what the hell happened last week. All I'll say, and this is him talking, not me, which is technically still the same thing. All I'll say is that it's nothing personal against True. Oh my God, Bo Dallas. Is that it's nothing personal against Drew. He's just not my chosen one.
Oh, wow.
At the very start of my employment, I challenged the entire roster to prove themselves, and many have. Some did so in the ring, and others approached me in my office and made me take notice. Drew, you had your chance to prove yourself in 2009 when Vince McMahon himself offered you the brass ring on a plate. And what did you do? You let that ring slide off your finger, and you slipped into obscurity. The only point you have proven to me is that you never truly belonged in WWE. Hell, I didn't even draft you. I drafted the WWE Championship. That title deserves to be around somebody else's waist. Could that be Adam Cole? Maybe. But ultimately, I choose anybody who isn't you. And Drew's music hits. And he starts to march down to the ring with a steel pipe in hand. Of course, he was attacked last week by hooded individuals with steel pipes. So he's maybe preempting something here. Just as he gets to the foot of the ring, funnily enough, the 4 hooded attackers get up on the apron and stand behind the general manager.
I know who they are.
Drew hesitates as the GM asks, have you guys not met before? And he goes, how rude of me. How rude of me. Let me introduce you to each other. And Drew is seething at this point. And the GM turns to the hooded guys and says, gentlemen, this is Drew McIntyre, soon to be former WWE champion and chosen failure.
Oh, good word.
And Drew, these guys here, well, they really enjoyed attacking you backstage 3 weeks ago. And in the spirit of introductions, let's see who we have here. The hooded guys begin to pull down their hoods and their face masks. Steve Cutler, Mojo Rawley, and a new look Elias all reveal themselves. But the GM stops the final member, saying that out of everybody on this roster, this guy is somebody who wants to prove himself more than anybody. He doesn't get the credit that he truly deserves. The GM nods to him and he removes his hood and mask, and it's Drew Gulak. The GM says if any Drew here is the chosen one, it's Gulak. And McIntyre grabs a mic and says, are you bloody kidding me? I'm going to do this in Drew's accent.
I always go back and forth when I'm doing the promos for the dudes on Raw. Like, I'm like, should I try and imitate their voices? And I'm like, no. But
this is the only one. This is the only one. Are you bloody kidding me? You have a forgotten son who should have remained forgotten. Somebody with more hype than a Goldberg title run and a Honky Tonk Man tribute act. Let's not forget Mr. PowerPoint presentation himself. These band of idiots are really supposed to be proving a point with you. And the GM says that Drew has had his chance and screwed it up, but each of these guys have never had that opportunity. Under my leadership, that changes. And Drew says that's all well and good. But after he's done with Adam Cole at SummerSlam, he's lining each of these guys up and he's going to Claymore your bloody heads off. And the GM then smiles and tells Drew that he's got the biggest target on his back and maybe spend less time focusing on us and more on himself. Adam Cole attacks Drew from behind and throws him into the steel steps, but Drew quickly recovers and hits a massive Claymore on Adam Cole.
Oof.
He stands up and stares a hole straight through the GM. And the GM tells his new cronies to get in front of him and protect him, but Drew shouts that you pricks will have your time after I leave SummerSlam with my title. And Drew heads up the ramp with Adam Cole and everybody else looking on.
Go home show.
Match 1. We got Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. After Sami issued a friendly challenge to Owens last week, they have their match. The GM eventually approved it for this week. Both share a handshake as the bell rings, and they have a fantastic match, as you would expect. It's incredibly even, with both guys getting near falls. But as we head to the final stretch, Sami is getting visibly frustrated, and he goes to hit the last move that he has in his arsenal. But he misses the haluva kick as Owens rolls through, and Sami eats a stunner for his troubles. Kevin Owens picks up the pinfall win. He reluctantly celebrates, as Sami is furious that he's lost, but Kevin picks him up, shares some words with him, and hugs him. Sami pulls away, lifts Owens' hand up in victory, and they both leave the ring together. Sami, with his arm around Owens, as they approach the bottom of the ramp, goes to slam him on the steel ramp, but jokingly pulls back. And Owens says, He kind of points to his head and he's like, I know what you did there. And he continues up the ramp. But Sami's smile soon turns to an intense stare as he watches Kev walk away. Look out for Series 2 of the GM mode.
Foreshadowing.
Backstage, Kayla is with Sonya Deville, who has obviously the new number one contender to Bayley's championship at SummerSlam. She's with her with visible stitches on her head, and Kayla asks her what she did about what she did to Mandy last week, and Sonya says that she's just delivering on a promise. She goes, I don't give empty promises, and from the moment I saw Mandy for who she really is, I told her that I would destroy her. And I did. She's not here tonight, is she? Mission accomplished. Bayley and Sasha then approach Sonya and shoo Kayla away. Bayley says, this match doesn't have to happen at SummerSlam. You've got nothing left to prove. And Deville just looks Bayley and Sasha up and down, smirks, and walks away. And Kayla comes back in and asks Bayley if she thinks she can retain her title at SummerSlam. And Banks cuts in and says, as long as I've got her back, nobody is taking that title away from us. Backstage. We see the Usos backstage talking to New Day about their title match tonight. They say they've got it. They say that you guys have got it tonight, and if the entire Undisputed Era decide to make their presence known, we've got your back. The New Day head off to prepare for their match, and as the Usos start to talk between each other, the lights start to flicker.
Oh no.
They're looking around, but nobody is there. But in the back, you see two figures approaching them. The lights cut. As they come back up again, you see the Usos being dragged by their feet around the corner.
That's legitimately terrifying.
Match 2. Apollo Crews versus Roderick Strong, United States title match. From the get-go, you can see that Crews is concerned about the numbers game at the start of the match, but Strong is actually out here on his own. They have a good match together, with Strong utilizing his many backbreakers and Crews using his athleticism to his advantage. But as the match wears on, Crews has Strong against the ropes and drop kicks him over the top rope. And the Undisputed Era suddenly make themselves known, with Cole still holding his head from the Claymore he received earlier in the night. They slowly work their way down the ramp and they have Apollo's attention. And Strong slides back in the ring and takes advantage of the distraction and hits an end of heartache on Cruz for the win. Roderick Strong grabs the United States Championship and celebrates as his Undisputed Era buddies celebrate with him. Cole, however, looks into the hard cam and tells Drew that you only get one Claymore. He turns to Cruz and hits a last shot. They all stand in the ring, throwing up the UE signs.
You paused before you said UE signs. You're like, they all stand in the ring throwing up. I was like, why are they throwing up? Are they sick? Yeah, just celebrating and throwing up. That's how we sell them.
Backstage promo, in fact. Tommaso Ciampa is giving one of his camera phone promos that he used to do back down in NXT. And he says, there's been enough talk about whose time it is and whose place this is. It's time to expose you, Edge. You are not the man that you claim to be, and no level of grit is ever going to convince me that you belong in my world. He says, your time has passed. You're weak, and I'm going to end your career for good at SummerSlam. Last week, I enjoyed the hell out of beating you with my crutch. And he says that crutch serves as a reminder of every single injury that I have overcome, only to get better and better each and every time. And he says, you overcame your biggest injury by returning at the Rumble. But when I face you this Sunday, there's no coming back from what I do to you. The crutch, a chair, a table, brass knucks, kendo sticks, camera cables. It doesn't matter what I use in the end. There will be no disqualifications. And if you're able to muster some breath after I beat your ass last week, I advise that you accept, because the quicker you do, the sooner you can go back to your mundane life in the mountains.
Oof.
Behind Ciampa, a hand picks up his crutch and slams it against Ciampa's back, dropping him to the floor. Edge appears in shot and says, I guess I accept, and walks away.
Ooh, that's better than a contract signing right there.
Mm-hmm. Match 3. Changed it up a little bit there.
Match
3. The New Day versus the Undisputed Era for the Tag Team Championships. Kofi and Woods are representing the New Day in their defense tonight. And Fisher and Kyle are joined by Cole and new United States champion Roderick Strong at ringside. The match starts strong with both teams getting the upper hand with smart tags and double teams. But before the match could really get going, the lights in the arena begin to flicker.
Oh, God.
And Kofi is distracted in the ring as Kyle hits a flying knee from the top rope. With Kofi down, the lights go out completely. You can hear commotion in the ring and the very faint sound of children chanting, "Follow the buzzards." As the lights come up, New Day are no longer in the ring, and all three are seen being dragged backstage by unknown assailants.
Oh.
The Undisputed Era are perplexed, as is the referee, who begins to count out the New Day. UE win, but New Day retain because of the count out, and the Undisputed Era are furious.
Oh.
Promo.
Switch it up there.
Promo. Out comes Paul Heyman on his own to hype up the match between Lesnar and Riddle this Sunday. He says that he is aware of Riddle's MMA background, as Riddle boasted about last week, but nobody really did it better than Brock. He questions the blind courage of Riddle, wanting to get thrown into the fight pit with somebody like Brock. He says that when Brock leaves Riddle a broken man in that pit, Matt will have to rethink his career choice and go back to whichever dump he's from and sell hemp on the side.
Not even like actual weed, like hemp.
Riddle's music hits, and he heads down to the ring. He gets on the mic and asks Heyman where his bro is. Says it seems like he's not the only person who has made the wrong career choice. He grabs Paul's arm, and just as he's about to lock in a submission, Brock's music hits. Lesnar heads down to the ring to confront Riddle, and they brawl. Lesnar hits some German suplexes and goes for an F5, but Riddle gets free and strikes Brock with a knee to the face, and it drops Brock down to his knees. Riddle stands behind Brock and starts pounding on him with strikes before locking in the bro mission. He keeps it locked in, but Lesnar refuses to tap and eventually squirms his way out of the ring. An embarrassed Lesnar and Heyman retreat up the ramp as Riddle looks on. Match 4. Chad Gable versus Sheamus, which, funnily enough, we had on this week's SmackDown as well. As Gable comes out to the ring, he's looking incredibly nervous. Sheamus takes advantage of a clearly distracted Gable and gains the upper hand. He rocks Chad with all of his signature offense, and it looks like he's going to pick up a pretty quick win. He signals for the broad kick, but as he charges towards Gable, the lights cut off. The same faint buzzards chants fill the arena, and when the lights come back up, Gable is gone, and Sheamus is left confused and annoyed in the ring.
He's getting fucking kidnapped.
Oof. Backstage, Orton is preparing for his main event match with Bryan's friend Jeff Hardy, and Kayla approaches him. She asks him if he is prepared for his match at SummerSlam with Daniel Bryan, and the Viper says that he is more than ready to face Bryan's shadow. He's not the same wrestler he faced a few years ago, and that opens things up for exploitation. Daniel needs to be at home with his family, where he can play dad and husband to his wife and kids, and I will get him there. He then looks at the camera. Daniel, if you refuse to go home where you belong with my helping hand, there are other means to get you there. Brie is a pending Hall of Famer in this company, which I guess you could say makes her a legend of sorts.
Oh, shit.
I have a special kind of relationship with legends, as you may be aware. So maybe I pay Birdie, your son, and beautiful Brie a little visit. Maybe I give Brie Bella a punt kick. Maybe that finally makes you figure out your place. At home, looking after your family, reminiscing about what you used to be. I don't care how I get you there. I'll leave that choice up to you. Orton winks at the camera and heads to the ring. Prick.
What a dick.
What a dick. Match 5. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. These guys are no strangers to each other, and they get things going straight away. Orton tries to keep the match at his pace, but Jeff using his offense to maintain the upper hand. As we get to the finish, Jeff manages to hit a twist of fate on Randy in the corner. Jeff takes a while to climb to the top, but goes for the Swanton Bomb. Orton raises his knees and quickly pounces on Jeff. He grabs his head and throws him out to the apron and nails a draping DDT. Hardy is down and Orton starts to set up the RKO. Jeff gets to his feet, eats the RKO, and loses by pinfall. But Orton doesn't get up. He sits by Jeff and starts to whisper in his ear. He stands up and backs away into the corner and prepares for a punt. But Daniel Bryan's music hits and he storms the ring to help his friend. Orton gets out of there, but Bryan is having none of it and chases him down. Orton disappears backstage with Bryan in pursuit. Daniel Bryan busts through the double doors leading to the backstage area and is instantly hit with an RKO by a waiting Orton on the concrete. Randy gets in Bryan's face and whispers, "Send my love to your family." But is that the end of SmackDown?
No.
Credits roll.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
The camera... Strap yourself in.
Oh, okay.
The camera cuts back to the ring, where Jeff is now recovering in the corner. And he asks for a mic. He says, "I've seen everything that's happened tonight. I know people are disappearing, and I know that I'm probably next. But if you think for 1 second that I'm going to go easy, you can think again." The lights go out, and you get the blap. Blap. A spotlight shines in the ring, with Grimes and Dallas staring at Jeff. Jeff wastes no time and goes to attack them. He manages to knock Dallas away long enough to be able to hit Grimes with a twist of fate, and as Bo comes back in for him, Jeff rocks him with a clothesline that sends him out of the ring. And Hardy screams, "Is that all you got?" And Jeff is looking around to see if anybody answers. The chatter of children saying, "Follow the buzzards," starts up again. It starts quiet and gets increasingly louder and louder and louder to the point where it starts to affect Jeff. He's on his knees. He's cupping his ears. He's trying to block it out. But the spotlight goes out, with the voices still echoing around the arena. But as that spotlight gets back up, Jeff is on his knees. He's trying to block out the sound, but his eyes are closed. But as he opens them, he finds the Usos' bodies slumped against each other in one of the corners. The spotlight drops again. And when it comes back up, Woods, Big E, and Kofi Kingston are slumped against each other in the opposite corner. And the spotlight goes out again. The voices are still filling the arena while all of this is going on, but suddenly stop in the darkness. Everything is quiet for a moment, and a screeching sound bellows around the arena, and a red spotlight hits the ring. Jeff looks on in horror as the Fiend drags Chad Gable's lifeless body over to Jeff. He drops Gable at Jeff's feet, drops to his knees, and stalks around Jeff. He reaches out to Jeff, who is petrified at this point in the corner, but the Fiend's gaze is quickly diverted to a lantern light on the darkened stage and ramp. The lantern moves slowly down the ramp with the Fiend fixated on it, and as the lantern gets to ringside, the screeching stops. Behind the Fiend, Dallas and Grimes have got back into the ring and start to stare at the Fiend. But the Fiend continues to stare at that lantern as it's brought up to a face and blown out. Bray Wyatt's laugh fills the arena, and the Fiend holds his hurt and heel gloves up to his ears. The laugh stops, and another bleh hits. The lights are up in the whole arena. Jeff is still in the corner. The New Day, Usos, and Gable are still lifeless. The Fiend is still staring towards the ramp, and Grimes and Dallas are still stood behind him. But they're not alone. Cultist Bray Wyatt is stood between them, and he yells for the Fiend to turn and face him. The Fiend turns and tilts his head at Bray, and after a tense stare down, Wyatt drops to his knees and shouts, "Follow the buzzards." The Fiend moves towards Bray, towers over him, and Bray starts to cackle and turns his head to look over to Jeff. His eyes go back to the Fiend, he nods, and the Fiend then crawls over to Hardy in the corner. He snaps his hand at Jeff and locks in the mandible claw as the arena is basked once again in red. Wyatt begins to sway side to side and starts to sing, "He's got the whole world in his hands," with children's voices joining him, and this is just getting louder and louder, echoing the arena. Bray then stands up and shouts to Grimes and Dallas, "Bring him." The Fiend lets Jeff go, leaves the ring with Wyatt, and Dallas and Grimes drag Jeff up the ramp by his feet. At the top of the ramp is a rocking chair. Wyatt sits in the chair and rocks as Grimes and Dallas lay out Jeff in front of him. The show ends with Wyatt rocking in his chair with the Fiend, Dallas, and Grimes behind him. Bleh. There we go. End of show.
I have so many questions. What a show! You really went for it with the go home, man.
Yeah, I felt I had to
Oh,
close
man.
some doors.
So Bray and the Fiend are separate people?
Mm-hmm. Well, are they? Are they separate people?
Well, how can Bray be
Well,
there and
visually they are, but
right?
ooh, because they
But
have
someone else
shown that. They have shown it on SmackDown before, where Firefly Bray was in the ring and the Fiend was up on the big screen. So I was
Oh,
like,
really?
I was like, ooh,
Oh,
I could
I
play
did not
with
know
that.
I don't watch actual WWE.
Probably
Nah,
shouldn't.
it's not great. Ow!
Yeah.
I'm taking it all in right now. That's such a cool thing that I'm like, that's awesome, and then I'm like, that's not gonna ever happen in real life.
It'd be cool if it did.
Oh my god, that was so well done. Everybody slumped and lifeless. I have so many questions, but I'm also just like, that was awesome. The Randy Orton line about like so I guess that makes Brie kind of a legend. Immediately got me. I think that was my favorite thing of the night.
Ooh.
That was really clever. Oh man. Well done on your go home show. Way to push everything, push the envelope, put a bow on it, but you did more of a spectacular bow than I did, but I like that.
Sports entertain, baby.
I'm still really like, damn, so the Fiend and Bray are set. That blew my mind.
The Fiend wasn't actually going to be in there. So I thought
Wow.
just having Bray, the cultist Bray, on his own would have been cool. But the visual of the Fiend dragging Chad to Jeff's feet in the red light, and I was like, oh, that's too cool.
That's awesome. And so when the Fiend came out, I initially was like disappointed because I was like, because I love Cult Bray Wyatt. He's hands down my tops. And I don't mind the Fiend, but I don't really like the Fiend. And so when the Fiend came out, I was like, all right, well, this is still cool, I guess. But then when there was the lantern, I was like, no. Is someone else the lantern person? Is Bray? And then you were like, cultist. And I was like, what? And then I was like, wait, the Fiend and Bray are in the ring at the same time? And then I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, but I don't understand, but I like it. Like, oh, wow, that was...
You don't have to understand, you just have to like it.
I did. Everybody's all slumped. And I love the whole dragging by your feet, because it's totally like horror movie, killer type stuff where you're just like dragging. Oh, man.
I tried to keep some continuity with it as well and go for everybody who they've targeted whilst I've done this GM mode. I was like,
yeah.
Ooh. I was like, yes, it all fits.
Good. And very good. Well done. So many questions now. What a SummerSlam now.
Oof. Oof. We have a good card. We have a good card for SummerSlam.
We do have a good card. And now that both shows are mixing to be on SummerSlam, it's going to be a very good, rounded out overall show with something for everyone and a pretty great show.
I'm gonna.
What an end to your G. Well, mine had a line and a moment. Yours
was
had
a visual
moments
piece
and was just damn, wow. That was really good.
Thank you. And I had in the back of my mind as well, if we do a series 2, I can...
If we do, I mean, well, you know, if we would incorporate other things in the wrestling world or companies. I think we gave that some kind of thought at some point.
Yeah, I kind of played that with Owens and Sammy. I thought, well, that's something I could lean on at a later date. The hooded thing was hard because my roster sucks.
I was definitely wondering that, like, who are the hooded dudes going to be? And then, like, who they ended up being, again, your roster is, like, Gulak was really cool, but your roster is thin. But also at the same time, like, that's how you make dudes that don't matter. Like, give them something cool to do, throw them in, like, see what happens. You never know what it could lead to. And, yeah, like, why not? And it fits, like, because you're literally, like, the whole thing that you, or I guess your GM self was saying, was all about, like, oh, you know, like I said, I wanted dudes who, like, want, you know, an opportunity and want to start and, like, yada, yada, improve themselves, yada, yada, like, all that, like, shit. And you've got 4 guys who were previously nobody, so, of course, those would be the dudes who would want to prove themselves, so they'll do whatever it takes. So it shouldn't be, like, 4 established superstars. It should be dudes who, in theory, kind of suck. And then when you combine that with like your thinner roster, I thought it all made sense. And at first, I was like, oh, I mainly just went off for Mojo Rawley because I think he sucks. But everything, what a show!
Oh.
What a go home!
Thank you. We'll see how the Dowpod Observer rates this one. Maybe he'll finally give me 4 stars.
Yeah, you've been. I mean, hey man, not everyone can get 4 stars every week. I mean, I do, but that's just me. But what a show!
Thank you. But we'll be teaming up at the very least on SummerSlam, so it'll be a combined rating between what we both have done. So I'm excited as hell.
Me too.
For SummerSlam this Sunday.
I'm also a little sad though. It's coming to an end.
But is it coming to an end?
Oh!
Now I'm ready for the biggest party of the summer. Our party is better than the actual party.
Yeah, I don't think I would say the actual SummerSlam isn't going to come
because
close
it's
to
not
our
real.
part.
It's not real, and we're in charge.
That's right.
But of course, to get to that point, we need to close out this episode. And I'll start again. I started my plugs on Monday. I will follow through with that this week and say I don't really have much to plug. Apart from tune in this Sunday on YouTube before the SummerSlam show. It'll run alongside the actual pre-show. And obviously check out our finale of this series, which we have both enjoyed thoroughly.
Yes.
We really have. And tomorrow, my Dits on Gaming episode 2 will drop. If you haven't checked out episode 1, go and check that out as well over on Dits on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel. Follow me at Project Dits on Twitter. And that is me. So, Anthony, you get to take us home.
Oof. A lot of pressure. I am Anthony, weekly co-host here on the Dow Pod. Raw GM, a.k.a. rival, a.k.a. mortal enemy of Dits in this GM mode series. And you can also find me every week on my own solo pod titled Wagons and Warpaths. It is a weekly Buffalo sports talk podcast. If you don't know what Wagons and Warpaths means, it is in reference to the Buffalo Bills, the Wagons, and the Buffalo Sabres, the Warpaths. You can find me on Twitter at Wagons_Warpaths. You can find the podcast on Apple iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you like the pod, please rate and review and subscribe. If you like all the awesome content and tomfoolery of my Twitter account, please give a follow and engage. And as of last week, well, it's a couple weeks ago, now I am an official partner of the Daily Buffalo and a contributor to Buffalo Fanatics, both of those known in the social media and content creating worlds in terms of Buffalo sports, especially with the Bills. So I am extremely proud and happy to be welcomed aboard to both of those teams. Just keep creating content and be able to push out more stuff and lead to great things. And yeah, that's me.
And that's awesome. It is
Appreciate
awesome.
you.
It's awesome. But I'm going to echo Anthony's thoughts as we close the Raw episode on Monday and just say a big thank you to everybody that's checked out this series. The hundreds of views and listens to this thing, so obviously that means a lot to both of us, I'm sure. It obviously concludes with SummerSlam, which we're hoping brings everybody in. Everyone's excited for it. We do the series justice by sending it home the right way, and hopefully we can get Justin on as well, because fucking kudos to that guy. For, like you said on Monday, like he came to us. He didn't have to. He's done a stellar job from the very go. And, he's still got 2 shows left in him. He's got my review and then the SummerSlam review next week, which will drop midweek at some point. But then we'll be saying goodbye to Justin for now.
Foreshadowing again, perhaps.
But obviously, Sunday is the last time you will hear from us for maybe 2 weeks before we get back in the seat. Maybe not on Dits on Gaming side of things, but the Dow Pod at the very least. So during that 2 weeks, stay safe, be good to each other, and just don't be dickheads. Yeah, I think that's the general consensus.
Yeah, don't be dicks.
Do not be dicks.
Be dits, not dicks.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
see, that's the
But until SummerSlam, guys, it's goodbye from me.
I knew it again, but I was trying to delay it as much as I could, but I couldn't stop laughing as soon as you passed it again. Damn, I was really trying to hold my laughter. Yeah, and a goodbye from me as well. Much like Dits did on this episode and I did on Monday, a sincere, heartfelt thank you to everyone who supports us in everything and anything that we do, but especially in this series. We are greatly appreciative of it. We're excited to see what you guys think of the SummerSlam episode and then potentially some things to come in the future. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. Don't be dickheads. See you next time.